Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Ripple's on-demand liquidity platforms rally over the week to register new all-time high. That's the latest headline from A&B Crypto on the matter. Going to run through this, and I'm telling you, I just... As I'm reading this, I was just thinking right before I hit record on this video how neat it would be if we could just take a look back, say it's like 5 years from now or 10 years from now, just look back on these types of stories and just knowing that we're actually here essentially, I know XRP's been around 7 years, but essentially here at the ground floor, ground level here, just observing all of this, as members of the XRP community. And recognizing something before most of the people on the rest of the world have ever even heard of it. And it's just just think about it. There's going to be a crazy amount of corridors through which XRP is going to be operating. There's going to be cryptocurrency exchanges which serve as liquidity pools the world over, making all of this possible because people are already speculating on the price of XRP, and that's where the initial liquidity came from in the first place. But liquidity begets liquidity, as Ripple co-founder Chris Larsen has stated on more than one occasion here. So I want to run through that, and I've got a few other stories I'm going to share with you. But before going any further, if you would please delicately tap that like button, and if you're a fan of Ripple and XRP, go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel, and I promise that you might not regret it. All right, let's go ahead and dive in now. Ripple has been partnering with various... Oh, actually, I should mention this too. The first part they started talking about, it's a completely different topic, but I already covered it in another video, so I'll just mention it. But anyway, Ripple has been partnering with various exchanges and banks around the world to facilitate faster and cheaper cross-border payments. Right now, there are speculations of Ripple cooking a deal with a Brazilian bank called Banco Tapazio, as noted by a close observer. There you go, third time's the charm. A deal that could facilitate on-demand liquidity payments in the country. And I think it's reasonable to speculate that's the case. I made a whole other video about that today, so feel free to check that if you want to. I don't want to speak about it any further in this one. Then the piece continues. As for the existing markets, Coins.ph and Bitso, the weekly and daily volumes reached all-time highs yet again, and you can see here are the charts on the screen. Now, the volume was noted to increase between the XRP/MXN corridors, along with an increasing remittance of the Philippine peso, PHP. According to the recorded data, the platform moved $5 million a day and approximately $25 million in a week. Now, isn't that the coolest thing in the world? And so what's neat to me about it, like I stated as I was beginning this video, the reason this technology is able to even work is because, to begin, people were already speculating on the open market on the price of XRP, and because that happened, and now you've got, for instance, MoneyGram coming in, utilizing, the last number I heard was 15% of their transactions from the United States to Mexico were going through on-demand liquidity, utilizing XRP as a bridge currency. And so you can see, because people are already speculating, you can have remittance companies like MoneyGram jump in, start utilizing it, and you can see what that actually does for the ecosystem here. And it's all because people were willing to speculate in the first place, and it's in hindsight, it seems kind of obvious, but there has to be a first person to ever come up with the concept, and somebody had to go, wait a minute, here's XRP, and this could be back almost 7 years ago, as soon as whatever the first day was that it's traded on an exchange anywhere. Like, wait a minute, people are actually trading this. It has an open market price because humans are choosing to value it. That's just liquidity sitting there. We could use that for something. Anyway, the piece continues here. XRP enthusiast and market maker H. Maddox noted the following reason for the recorded all-time high. And here's a quote. Weekly all-time high reached as expected, mainly due to progress in the USD and AUD to PHP corridor. All right. As per data provided by UtilityScan, USD MXN reported the highest 24-hour volume of $2.19. I'm sorry, that's $2.19 million. USD PHP noted a volume of 152K, with AUD USD not far behind with a volume of 137K. Now recently, the XRP/MXN corridor on Bitso marked an all-time high as the liquidity breached $10 million. And I do want to point out, they're talking about Bitso there. They wrote BITO, B-I-T-O, because this is crypto media. And if you're a writer, you're a journalist, if you want to even use that word for crypto media, what you do is you just type up a draft of anything and don't spell check it. Don't check it for errors. You just go ahead and put it out on the webernets, and there you go. And that's how you get BITO instead of Bitso. XRP/PHP also saw a rise in liquidity as the coin reported 1.37 million. Now, recently, Marcus Treacher, is the SVP of Customer Success at Ripple, explained in an interview how the global economy will note an increase in micropayments using wallets, giving way to instant and low-value payment flows. And he said, quote, "The shift from traditional large-value batch flows to low-value, high-volume payments will help the small to medium enterprises break into new markets much faster. SMEs, small medium enterprises, are often young and fast-growing, which exposes them to cash flow crises through late payments from their larger foreign buyer." Exactly here. And if you look here, I had this pulled up. I was just looking at this earlier. And this is Leonidas' website, XRP Arcade, and he's got the 6 known cryptocurrency exchanges that have partnered with Ripple and are offering on-demand liquidity. Bitstamp, Bittrex, Bitso, Coins.ph, BTC Markets, and BitCup. So the 2 newer ones, there's Bitcoin Markets, that's the Australian cryptocurrency exchange, and then just a couple days ago, I made a video about this too, which I think is cool news. BitCub, that's the very newest one that we're aware of here. And there's going to be more. Like I've said in the past, I can't imagine, if you're a cryptocurrency exchange, why you would not want to partner up with Ripple and just turn on-demand liquidity. Now, I understand that, but that's part of like building out corridors. And I understand there's regulatory concerns in various geographic regions, but that's all going to get figured out. You know, it always makes me think when people talk about, oh yeah, but the regulatory uncertainty, is XRP really ever going to be used in this capacity? And I'm like, damn it, do you realize that Skype used to be illegal based on the existing legal framework of like the mid-90s, and laws had to be changed? Like, oh yeah, that's stupid. If you try and apply that to this technology, it doesn't make any sense, and Skype's illegal. Come on, like, humans are going to figure this out. Come on, it's a source for good. All right, I want to highlight this, and I mentioned this yesterday, so I'm going to be brief, but there's a story today from A&B Crypto titled "Fake Ripple Insights Page Used by Scammers for Phishing Racket." And I want to mention it at least one more time. This is a brand new article. I covered it again yesterday, and luckily I'm happy that crypto media is covering this, and hopefully it's preventing some people from getting scammed. But if you are unaware of this, just listen up. Here we go. Where's the part? Maybe this is probably the part that I want to cover down here. But basically, here's what's happening. I'll just sum it up. If you're trading on an exchange, for example, there's a scammer out there who is sending you a very small amount of actual XRP, a very, very small amount. It could be like 0.0, I don't know how many zeros, and then an 8 or something like that worth of XRP, just a really tiny bit. And then the premise is that it's actually Ripple, and then you're supposed to send more XRP to them to get even more back. So they send you some in the first place, which I had never seen done before. Every scam I'd ever seen is, hey, send us XRP, and then we'll send you XRP, even more, and that's, of course, a complete scam, because why would anybody ask you to do that? But anyway, just as a public service announcement, again, I wanted to at least briefly mention this, and I am really happy that crypto media is sufficiently covering this. If you want more of the specifics, because I know that wasn't a particular in-depth coverage, I just wanted to cite it, though. Just go check out A&B Crypto. There's a brand new article on it today, and you can find it there. But if something sounds like it's too good to be true, it probably is. So just be careful out there. I don't want to see any of my fellow XRP community members getting scammed by awful humans. All right, next. Now, this is interesting. This is from Cointelegraph. Binance CEO suggests crypto exchanges are safer than keeping one's keys. And upon reading that, my first thought when I read that headline is, of course you're going to say that. Can you blame them? There you go. But let's just jump in. CZ, the founder and CEO of cryptocurrency exchange Binance, suggested that for most, keeping crypto assets on an exchange is safer than keeping the keys themselves. It's just like, oh my god, I don't know about all that. How many hacks have I covered on the Moon Lambo channel? Just in the last, I've been running this channel for a little over a year. How many have I covered? I don't know what the number is, but it's more than one, it's more than two, and it's definitely more than three. I don't know, 6. I don't know. It's never ending. So anyway, CZ gave his comments in a tweet on January 19th after famous crypto skeptic and gold bug Peter Schiff complained that he lost access to his Bitcoin, invoking the phrase "safu," a slanger term in the crypto market for safe. CZ said, quote, "Many hardcore crypto organizations advocate storing your own keys, but the truth is, today most people are not able to secure a key even from themselves losing it. A trusted centralized exchange is safer for most people. The numbers speak for themselves. Need to work on wallets." And that's why another thing here I want to state: I've never been convinced that every human on the freaking planet just is so upset with the fiat currency that they want no sort of centralized monetary policy whatsoever, and they just want to have their own money and have it not be confiscatable by the government and all this stuff. Just basically everything that the Bitcoin maxis out there have been preaching for over a decade. I've never thought that every single human on the planet wants to take on that type of responsibility, the responsibility of holding their keys. Now, many do, and that's perfectly fine. I don't want an exchange holding my XRP, for example. So I'm not, understand me, I'm going to be careful here. I'm not stating that it's a good idea to just leave a bunch of cryptocurrency on exchange. I still don't believe that. But in terms of custody, I think if there's a centralized solution where there's, perhaps whatever you have, it's insured, things along those. It's kind of like checking accounts. They're insured up to FDIC, like a $250,000 or something in the United States, something like that. Something along those lines. That kind of makes sense to me here. But anyway, and here's the other thing too. As far as your private key, I don't know how many people are doing this. Probably a lot of people are. But does anybody have a what's the term? This is an obvious term. Why is it escaping me? At a bank. Safety deposit box? Safety deposit box. There you go. I have one. And, something that's fascinating was said to me when I set it up. Because I was thinking, okay, what happens, because a lot of people are doing this, I think, where, you have your private key, then you just store it in a safety deposit box. So it's in a bank, but nobody can get to it. Okay. And then I thought, well, what happens if the building is destroyed in disaster? I just thought I'd share a fun comment because the banker that I was dealing with when I set this thing up some time ago, she told me, she's like, well, there was a different branch. It was in a different state that they had, or maybe it was the other end of the state that I live in. I can't remember, but they said, there was a tornado that came through, completely demolished the bank. But the actual safety deposit boxes, if you went to the side of the bank the day after the tornado, the only thing standing, because the building was down, the only thing standing was the metal safety deposit box, which were just rooted into the foundation. And so I just thought the visualization that I had of that just mentally, I was like, oh my gosh. So the point is it's probably not going anywhere. So you might think, okay, what's the best way to store your private key? And I'm not telling you what to do, but it's just, I know that a lot of people, just as a backup, and maybe you have your private keys stored in more than one location, but there's always concerns anywhere. What if something did happen to your safety deposit box, some sort of natural disaster, or what if you're storing it safe at home and you're robbed? I mean, there's all sorts of weird stuff that can happen. There's no perfect solution, and not everybody is going to want to store the cryptocurrencies in the same fashion. So, I don't know, it's just kind of a fun thing to think through. I'd be curious to hear what most of you are doing right now. Hopefully, most of you are not keeping cryptocurrency on exchanges there. I don't care what you say, CZ. I don't think that's, it's just my opinion, I don't think that's the best place for crypto. It's just my humble opinion here. But anyway, that's it for this video. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything, because if anything that I say or write, that would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon Lambo!